Number 3. Anthony Seabury. Halloween night of 2013 was a violent one in New York City, as 3 people were shot dead in 3 separate incidents. At around 7:30 p.m., 46-year-old Sean Rhodes was shot several times while sitting in a minivan in Brooklyn. He was pronounced dead at the hospital shortly afterwards. 4 hours later, at 11:30 p.m., 37-year-old Kevin Thompson was also fatally shot in Brooklyn. He was shot once in the neck and pronounced dead at the hospital. Both of these shootings are believed to have been committed by the same person, described as a black male wearing a camouflage jacket, ski cap, and yellow boots. 1 hour after the Rhodes shooting, at 8:30 p.m., a third man was also shot in Brooklyn. 19-year-old Anthony Seabury was walking down East 31st Street when he was shot once in the head. Like the previous 2 victims, he was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. However, Seabury's killer is not believed to be the same person who shot Rhodes and Thompson. Seabury's killer was wearing a ghost face mask from the Scream movie franchise. In the Scream films, Ghostface is an identity assumed by several different people while committing murders. As Seabury's killer was never caught, it is unknown if the Ghostface mask held significance for him. Perhaps he believed that he was portraying the fictional killer, or perhaps it was simply a convenient disguise to wear on Halloween night. The murder of Seabury, along with the murders of Rhodes and Thompson, remains unsolved. Number 2. Sylvia Salinas. Galveston, Texas, is a small city located on the southeast side of Galveston Island. Sylvia Salinas was a 30-year-old entrepreneur who owned and operated a small corner grocery store in Galveston. Although the city is a popular vacation destination, it has a high crime rate, a fact that Salinas was likely well aware of, as she kept both a pistol and a machete behind the store's counter. On Halloween day of 1989, Salinas was working alone in her store. At some point, someone entered the store and made their way behind the counter. This person stabbed Salinas through the heart with a large knife, and then used the same knife to pry open the cash register. This act triggered a silent alarm, and police arrived on the scene fairly quickly, but Salinas's killer was long gone. The police collected evidence from the scene and later interviewed about 20 suspects. From the beginning, it was believed that Salinas had known her killer. Her brother said that she would not have let someone behind the counter unless she trusted them, and there is no indication that Salinas attempted to grab either of her 2 weapons, which were close at hand, or that she had attempted to trigger any silent alarms. Police believe the killer was either a friend or acquaintance of Salinas, or perhaps a regular customer. However, they had no solid suspects, and the case grew cold. In 2008, the case suffered another blow when Hurricane Ike struck Galveston as a Category 2 hurricane, destroying much of the stored evidence relating to Salinas's case, along with many other cold cases from the area. However, in 2018, the case gained some renewed attention when police made public for the first time a video recording that had been made of the crime scene and had survived the hurricane. On screen now is a still from the video showing the knife that was used to murder Salinas and pry open the cash register. Some fingerprints, believed to be from the killer, which were taken from the crime scene, also survived the hurricane, and Salinas's family still hopes that one day her murder will finally be solved. Number 1. Ronald Sisman and Elizabeth Platzman. During the early morning hours of Halloween of 1981, 39-year-old photographer Ronald Sisman and his 19-year-old girlfriend Elizabeth Platzman were brutally murdered in Ronald's apartment at West 22nd Street in the Greenwich Village area of New York City. Both had been beaten before being shot execution style in the back of the head. The apartment had been ransacked, as though the killer or killers had been looking for something. Early on in the investigation, police were contacted by a prison informant who told them that a fellow prisoner had provided details about the murders before they had occurred. The prisoner who had allegedly provided these details was none other than David Berkowitz, aka the Son of Sam. In a previous video on this channel, 2 controversial serial killer theories, I discussed the Son of Sam case. David Berkowitz, a former postal worker, was convicted of 6 fatal shootings in the New York City borough of Queens between July of 1976 and July of 1977. Berkowitz had initially claimed to have killed his victims based on the orders of his neighbor's dog Harvey, which he said was possessed by a demon. Eyewitness testimony and the investigative work of author Maury Terry cast doubt on Berkowitz as being the sole perpetrator of the killings, with Terry and several members of law enforcement stating that they believed Berkowitz was one member of a satanic cult which had carried out the murders, a claim that Berkowitz later stated was true. Berkowitz had told the informant that his cult was planning to enter a residence in Greenwich Village on Halloween, where they would then ritualistically torture the couple inside before killing them. When questioned by police, Berkowitz admitted to making the statement and told investigators that Sisman had been targeted because he possessed a videotape of one of the cult's murders, and it was feared that he would turn the tape over to law enforcement as a bargaining chip to avoid drug charges. Sisman had long been rumored to be involved in drugs, and there was speculation that his murder was a result of unpaid drug debts. Sisman also had a checkered past. In April of 1980, actress Melanie Haler, best known for a reoccurring role in the sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter, was found unconscious and bloody on a subway train in Manhattan. Haller claimed that she had been raped by Roy Radin at a party at his home. Radin was a vaudeville and music show producer who had been introduced to Haler by Sisman. Haler stated that the assault on her had been filmed by Radin, or possibly by others in attendance at the party. Radin claimed that Haler had consented to sexual games at the party, and he was never charged in connection with the incident. Robert McKeague, a businessman, was convicted of assaulting Haler at the party and sentenced to 30 days in jail. Sisman was accused by Haler of attempting to force her to take cocaine when she refused his sexual advances at a photo shoot in May of 1980. However, the charges against Sisman were dropped when Haler refused to cooperate with investigators, which led to speculation that Sisman was able to intimidate Haler in order to have the charges dropped. Like Sisman, Roy Radin also met with a violent end. In 1983, he disappeared while en route to a business meeting in Beverly Hills, California. His remains were found several weeks later by a park ranger near Gorman, California. Radin had been attempting to break into movie production and was murdered in a plot engineered by one of his business partners, former drug dealer Karen Greenberger. Greenberger had initially been listed as a co-producer of Radin's first film, but was forced out of the production by Radin after disagreements between the two. 4 people, including Greenberger, were eventually convicted in the murder of Radin, which involved kidnapping him and transporting him to a remote location where he was shot multiple times and then blown up with dynamite in order to make the identification of his body more difficult. Famed movie producer Robert Evans, who worked on the films Chinatown, Rosemary's Baby, and The Godfather, was at one time a person of interest in Radin's murder, although he was never charged in the case. Returning to the murder of Sisman, Berkowitz claimed that Sisman was an associate of the Son of Sam cult, but not a member. Berkowitz said that the cult had hired him to film one of their murders. He said that after the filming was done, Sisman had began to act nervous and paranoid. He said that the cult was well aware of Sisman's drug problems and believed that he had kept a master copy of the film, and it was feared he might hand it over to the authorities. Berkowitz said that the cult decided to make Sisman a victim of one of their ritualistic murders and obtain Sisman's copy of the film at the same time. Law enforcement has never publicly stated how many of Berkowitz's statements they believe, and officially, Berkowitz is solely responsible for all of the Son of Sam murders. It has never been explained how Berkowitz came into advanced knowledge of the murders of Ronald Sisman and Elizabeth Platzman, which remain unsolved. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you found it interesting. If you did, please give it a like. If you haven't already, check out my other content for more videos just like it. And if you enjoyed what you just heard, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.